Hello and welcome to the College Investor Audio Show. We're so glad you're hanging out with us today. Let's take a look at this. So Trump's budget proposal is going to be cutting $2.3 billion from education. Before we tackle that issue, first, I just want to remind you, anytime you hear a topic on the podcast, you can always go back in the archives, find it, and copy and paste that into the search bar at thecollegeinvestor.com. You're going to see the article along with it, with all the things we talk about, all the resources, links, and everything you could possibly want to know about that topic. It's all right there for you inside the article. You can also ask questions, comments, everything else on our social medias. We're pretty much anywhere you are. Just search for the words The College Investor. You're going to find us. All right, let's take a look now at this new budget proposal. If you're a college student, or maybe a family relying on financial aid, President Trump's newly released fiscal year 27 budget proposal, you can dive into the PDF file if you want at thecollegeinvestor.com, could signal some major changes ahead. The plan calls for eliminating two long-standing aid programs, which would be the freezing, the Pell Grant awards at their current dollar amount, and continuing the administration's push to shut down the Department of Education entirely, which would help in some other areas. So, there's some good things with that and some not so good things that you have to just get used to. But anyway, the proposal, I'm a small government guy, but anyway, the proposal unveiled on Friday requests $76.5 billion in discretionary funding for the DOE, which would be a 2.9% decrease from last year, $2.3 billion. Including both mandatory and discretionary spending, the administration requested $124.4 billion for federal student aid. The budget document describes these moves as putting the department on a path to elimination. It's a slow-moving process. It's not just, stick a dynamite, blow the whole department up. It's, slow-moving, with programs transferred to other agencies and, of course, the staff being reduced. So let's dive into what the proposal includes and what it's going to mean for your wallet and why it may or may not actually happen. It's just a proposal. All right, let's take a look at Pell Grants. The move overall funding, same award amount. The budget proposes $10.5 billion increase in discretionary funding for the Pell Grant program, bringing the total to over $33 billion. That number is misleading on its own, though. The increase is designed to cover a projected funding shortfall in the program, not to boost awards for students. The maximum Pell Grant is still going to be $7,395 for the 27-28 award year. That's the same amount students can receive today, and it would mark the fourth consecutive year without an increase. It's a lot higher than when I went to school, though. The budget also references Workforce Pell, a provision from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that expanded Pell Grant eligibility to short-term workforce training programs, which was pretty cool. The administration says it's going to continue partnering with employers to ensure these programs lead to in-demand jobs. FSEOG eliminated and work-study almost gone. Two of the oldest campus-based aid programs would face severe cuts or even outright elimination under this proposal. Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, mouthful, the FSEOG. The administration proposes eliminating this program entirely for fiscal year 27. FSEOG currently provides need-based grants of up to $4,000 per year to undergrad students with financial need. Schools receive FSEOG allocations from the federal government and distribute them to eligible students. This is the second consecutive year the administration has called for this elimination, but Congress voted to maintain funding last year. Take a look at now federal work-study programs. The budget doesn't eliminate work-study outright, but it does propose a change that would effectively gut the program. Currently, the federal government pays 75% of a work-study student's wages, with the employer covering 25%. The new proposal flips that ratio, and a little bit more. Employers would pay 90% of wages, the federal share dropping to just 10%. Total program funding would be $123 million. So for students, this matters directly. Roughly 600,000 students participate in federal work-study each year. If employers are required to shoulder 90% of wages, many, like nonprofits, schools, small community organizations, may simply stop offering their positions to work-study. Fewer positions means fewer students earning money to help cover their college costs. Other higher education cuts. Let's take a look at this. Beyond the headline, financial aid programs, the budget proposes other higher education program eliminations. This includes a $354 million cut to minority-serving institution (MSI) programs, including funding for historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, and tribally controlled colleges and universities. The fund would be for the improvement of post-secondary education. FIPSE would lose $136 million. International foreign language education would lose $81 million. The budget also eliminates federal TRIO programs, Gear Up, and the GAN Graduate Assistance Program. TRIO alone serves nearly 800,000 low-income and first-generation college students annually with academic tutoring, counseling, and college prep. Quick reminder, here's how the federal budget process actually works. Okay, before anybody panics, it does help to understand what the presidential budget proposal actually is. The president's budget proposal is just a wish list. It's like a formal proposal that outlines the administration's spending priorities. It doesn't become law, okay? He's not a king, right? So Congress holds the power of the purse under the Constitution. This is why we have our government set up the way it is, and both the House and Senate have to draft, negotiate, and pass their own appropriations bills to actually fund the government. Here's the typical timeline. The president submits the proposal, which just happened. Congressional committees then hold hearings and draft their own. The House and Senate each pass their versions. A conference committee reconciles the differences, and the final bills go to the president's desk for signature. All of this is supposed to be completed by September 30th, or Congress must pass a continuing resolution to keep the government funded or risk a shutdown, which, almost always happens. History offers reason to be skeptical, right? That these cuts are actually going to happen. The administration proposed nearly identical cuts to the FSEOG and federal work study just last year. Congress rejected them, voting to maintain flat funding for both programs. This doesn't guarantee the same outcome this year, but at least it shows that the president's budget is a starting point for negotiation. It's not the final word. Here's what this means for students and families. The National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators, President Melanie Story, said in a statement, and I quote, "American families are facing rising costs of basic necessities, and forthcoming changes to federal student aid programs from the OBBBA will give many of them fewer options to pay for college. Now is not the time to abandon critical need-based aid programs with a proven track record of improving student outcomes and academic success." End quote. If any version of these cuts were to pass, the impact would fall hardest on low-income students. FSEOG exclusively serves students with the greatest financial need. Work-study jobs provide both income and professional experience. TRIO programs help first-generation students navigate the path to and through college. Cutting all three of these would remove multiple rungs from the ladder that lower-income students use to access and afford higher education. Even the Pell Grant freeze, it's not a cut in dollar terms, represents a real reduction in value as college costs continue to climb. There are lots more that could be said, especially from the other side and the libertarian side of things and all this stuff. So anyway, we won't get into that. If you want to dive deeper, though, read the PDFs for yourself, read the proposals, just find out everything you want to know about the current presidential proposal. Again, it's not law, at all. There's a lot of process that needs to go into it. Several months' worth of process. You can find it at thecollegeinvestor.com. You better believe we will keep our eye on this and keep you up to date. You can follow, and all the things on social media. Just search for the words The College Investor, and you'll find us. We'd love to connect with you. We'll talk to you again real soon. Thank you so much for stopping by today.